Cloud9 are looking clean. Lyra will be the answer for Elite 8.
Yeah, and this Churnwalker pick for Cloud9, it's something that they did play in the autumn season, but they never really had great success with it. So this is actually very interesting for me that they picked it up, because if they can have a strong showing with it, now suddenly this is something that teams will have to worry about going forward in this competition.
Yeah, Elite 8, please ban Koshka. You cannot give Cloud9 Churnwalker Koshka composition.
I mean, the thing about Churnwalker is that since they've already secured their spot at the quarterfinals, if you're gonna have a chance to practice the Churnwalker and bring it out so that you can feel more comfortable with it, this is the perfect time to do it for C9.
Yeah, Rona would be a really good ban here, because Rona is something that works well into Churnwalker, kind of in your face, ulting and getting lifesteal from everybody, kind of counters the Churnwalker heroic perk he has from his chain. So let's see if that ban will come out and a Rona ban. Oh, they're going to ban Kestro actually instead.
Interesting. Maybe just trying to force their opponents to show more of their hands, because this is something that we've seen other regions start to pick up a little bit more.
It's also about that it can counter your Churnwalker very effectively. If they play the Kestrel Lyra with another range carry in the jungle, we know that works very, very well against the Churnwalker. So Cloud9 are just being preemptive with what they don't want to go up against.
And so obviously with the strong picks that we were talking about still on the board, like the Rona and the Black Feather, you got to figure one of those two will be looked at here by Elite 8. But I feel like you want to make sure you get those hard dive heroes, because we've talked about it. That's what you do against Churnwalker, is you either play super far range so that you can just try and break the chain quickly, but even more effective is when you are able to be the team engaging onto Churnwalker. So having that dive ability from your composition is one of the most effective ways to counter out against the Churnwalker, and they are going to go ahead and grab that Rona.
There's that Rona, and is Cloud9 going to take the Black Feather now? Because if they don't take Black Feather, they're going to hand over a Rona Weapon Power with a Black Feather Lyra jungle. That's an extremely strong meta composition. However, Churnwalker could work definitely with the Black Feather against the Rona here, but Rona counters Black Feather pretty hard if it's a weapon with Black Feather.
I'm more interested to see what Cloud9 are going to go for with a carry pick here. I wouldn't be surprised if it is a Sky Weapon Power, actually, just because that's the only thing left for Old School to play against this Rona, especially since the box is taken away. You could run the Black Feather or you could run the Baron, but that is too risky.
You could always see him go back to his old standby of the Adagio in the lane, which, I mean...
Against Rona, that would be tough. No mobility
at all. It'd be tough, but... It's something that I could definitely see Cloud9 doing here, just to flex their muscle a little bit and just really kind of showcase just how strong they are as individual players. But it is going to be that Sky pickup. It does make a lot more sense to go for it. Like I said, I was kind of hoping for the Adagio just because I love to see teams just try and really showcase their abilities, but obviously the Sky pickup is just very meta against the Rona.
Probably CP Black Feather here, and then what leaves open for Elite 8 is going to be like a Petal or a Baptiste would work as well with the Rona. Would be pretty strong, so let's see if the Black Feather will be picked up here by Cloud9.
We'll have to see where they do go with this one. Still options available for them, and obviously that Sky can be flexed between the jungle and the lane as well. Zorro, what are you expecting here?
I mean, CP Black Feather would make the most sense, but what I'm excited about is if Elite goes for the CP Fortress later on, it wouldn't make too much sense against the Weapon Power Sky and with the Rona, because she can't proc those bleeds as fast as possible. She doesn't use the auto attacks as often. She likes to use the Red Mist instead. But it would be very interesting to see Elite 8 going for something that they know works very well for them now that they're backed against the wall.
Yeah.
Well, Black Feather will be the lock-in in the end. That's what you guys were predicting. It is going to come on through for Cloud9, so they have their composition locked on in. Now Elite 8 have to decide how they're going to counter that one out.
I do like the Fortress here, because one perk of Rona, actually, Berserker's Rage, when she hits targets that are mortally wounded, she actually gains additional Blood Rage. So any crit or any basic attack that she lands, she gets additional Blood Rage. It means her abilities are up faster, and every hit that she lands, it refreshes her her B ability a little quicker. So Fortress would be great, but yep, Baptiste is going to be picked since the Black Feather was picked on the side of Cloud9.
That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You're playing Baptiste, who struggles against range hero, and against CP Black Feather and Sky. Those are two heroes that can just keep their distance and dance around your abilities.
Not only that, but we talked about one of the biggest strengths of the Baptiste is the Ordained. Black Feather just rows offensives, and he's out of the Ordained without worrying about the stun and can get onto another target or keep himself safe. I think it's definitely going to be used to try and focus on the Sky, keep her from using those Surrey strikes all over the team fights and try and just keep everything kind of condensed for this Rona to dance around, to spin around on, but it's Cloud9. It's going to be so tough to do that.
I mean, to Elite 8's credit, if they manage to get the wombo combo or the fearsome shade into the red mist Rona spinning on top of those targets that are fleeing away, that could be very devastating. But like you said, Cloud9 having a very strong draft here in the second game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what you expect out of Cloud9, right? Especially with the new coach on board, with all of the support staff available to them. You expect them coming in strong, coming in well prepared, but also this is still a Cloud9 that is looking to hold strategies at this early stage in the tournament. I think it's about time that we get on into this one, gentlemen. Cloud9 seem like a heavy favorite here, but Elite 8, they have a pretty strong composition for themselves. We'll see if it's going to be enough to take a game here or if they're going to be in even pegging against Pain Gaming later on in the day. It's time to pass it back up to our casters and get into game number 2 of Cloud9 against Elite 8.
Thanks, guys. Let's go. Game number 2, Elite 8 versus Cloud9. And I don't want to call us mind readers, Scoundrel, but I said the Rona, and I said ban Koshka. Well, maybe not you, but I'm the mind reader here.
It was definitely more targeted this time round, which I think is good, because Cloud9 warrants some sort of targeted bans. I have to agree with the analyst desk, though. I don't feel the Batiste pick was super key here for Elite 8, and I think Cloud9 have got a superior composition. It's a very hard combo to pull off with the Fearsome Shaded to Rona. You have to position Rona kind of behind the enemy team. You also have to expect Gabe not to block the Fearsome Shade, which he does because it's Gabe. So it's a very difficult composition to pull off.
That it is, but we're on to the fold. Game number 2 underway. They've swapped sides. Joseph this time doesn't get his hands on that Koshka, but one scary man I want to look at is Gabe Vizzle. He's on that Churn Walker, which has been so impactful throughout day number 1.
Who would win? Indonesian Pride or one Churny boy?
One Cheney boy.
All right, C9 rotating from in to out, I like to call this, taking the middle sentry straight away. The only way you punish this kind of movement is by heavy invading. If you move super quickly through your own jungle, you can heavy invade onto the enemy backs, and often you can get an advantage because you have a small level advantage by that point, especially if you can catch them in the middle of doing their backs. But it doesn't look like Elite 8 were quick enough to the mark, and that's going to be Cloud9 getting that central Treant for free. And often you can keep up the rotation because you have the timing of the Treant now, so you can keep up that rotation over and over again, and this could be your Crystal Sentry for the next few respawns.
Cloud9 as well, splitting the backs, but Old School was able to make his way back to the lane rather sharpish. However, Minion Candy being used here by Elite 8 does make sure he has a little bit more of a difficult time actually farming it up. And that does actually leave Heim and Hunyegas a little bit more time in their jungle as well. Might be able to set up something here or just share the backs like Cloud9 did in rotation ago.
So we're going to see the Weapon Power Sky coming out again, obviously, which is something that we saw Dienzio pilot like a monster in that game against Rox. It is super hard to lock down a Weapon Power Sky. She is ultra mobile, very short range in the Batiste. Obviously, Hunyegas is going to get kited like a madman. So the only thing that can really work here is if Sky gets locked in, especially if you portal on top of her with the Bright Bulwark, and then gets locked in by a Ordained, it is a good way to lock down the Sky that way, but obviously that's kind of countered by things like Crucible and Reflex Block, and we know how good all of the C9 roster are at using those particular tools to their advantage, so I still think this is going to be a very, very tough fight to take.
Vizzle got 3 chains, but it didn't matter. That damage from Hunyegas as he was trapped in that Ordained does result in first blood for Elite 8.
Yeah, again, a little bit of an overextension from Gabe there. It's always tempting to go for as many changes as physically possible, but if you have 3 enemy members jump straight on top of you, you will not survive too long. Gabe didn't even bother using his healing flask, knew that he was dead either way, and that'll be first blood going over to Elite 8. It's a good start for them. It's the kind of start that they needed. Cloud9 are already through, I believe, but obviously Elite 8 are going to want to give themselves the best opportunity going up against Pain later on.
This is a tall order as well, you can imagine. Elite 8 sitting there watching Cloud9's VODs over the Unified Championships, like, how are we going to win this? Although they are just contesting this Zelda tree and don't get the steal. It's a nice stun straight on to Joseph. He ends up going down. The Ordain was perfect. They're going to chase onto Old School now as well. Gabe Vizzle following up. Got a 3-chain torment, but Hunyegas jumps straight back into the fray. Results into another kill. Gabe Vizzle should be able to survive. He's got the regeneration from that 3 chains. trapped in the Ordained. It's not going to happen, but Elite 8 to find 2 more kills.
Yeah, this is the power of Rona early on, especially if he closes that distance super easily. I love Joseph going towards the Aftershock build on the Black Feather, but it's just a composition where they don't have the item spikes necessary to duel up against what Elite 8 are bringing to the table in the early stages. Cloud9 do have to be very careful, I think. You can't afford to give too many of these fights over to Elite 8 in the early game. You don't want to allow them to spike too quickly. You need to wait until you get your items that are going to allow you to duel on sort of level pegging. Sky needs at least the Poison Shiv and Breaking Point to start to have a significant team fight effect. So I just think Cloud9 need to play the early game a little bit, maybe more tempered than they usually do.
Well, they've, like you said, had control of that Elder Treant for the entirety of the game. Elite 8 did decide to jump on them one last time. Item shop has opened up, which means Old School's going to be able to pick up his first item. Same with Gabe Vizzle. Now Joseph just looking for that Aftershock a little later on. But you've got to say, the anime saves me. His ability to keep Hunyegas alive in the lane is there, but they've not needed to thus far. In fact, both teams have been rotating in and out of the lane. Hunyegas has not had a tough time CSing up in there because he's not actually faced Old School in a 1v1 or a 2v2 situation just yet.
No, he has picked up the Serpent's Mass power spike. He's also picked up an infusion off the back of that as well. Super early infusion. I'm guessing this is a preemptive infusion, knowing where Cloud9 often like to spend their resources. I would be surprised if Cloud9 went for early sort of gold miners against this Elite 8 composition before they have those item spikes that I think necessary are to fight up against them. So I wouldn't expect to see Cloud9 taking early infusion battles with this composition just yet. But we do see Old School having one in his inventory, so that maybe spells out that he's anticipating a fight in some way, shape or form, and that will help him be effective in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, the counter infusion, you could say. Anime saved me going fairly low, so just going to be able to heal him up, however. Starting with a Fountain this game, more often than not, especially in NA and EU, we are seeing Crucible start. And that might have been something to consider as well, because Gabe Vizzle is hitting that level 6 very, very soon. Oh, that's a big cooldown as well, such early on. 80-second cooldown on Heim's Fearsome Shade, used to just disengage from Cloud9.
Yeah, but it does save Cloud9 getting an easy lead-in onto this gold miner, and obviously probably worth it for that sense. By the next time the fight comes around, it's only a minute now until it comes off cooldown. I imagine he'll have that up and kicking for the next time they duel up against Cloud9. But yeah, Crucible needs to be rushed by Gabriel. It's a really important item for him. That will be a matter of priority as the next item. Also, like you said, Crucible for Anime saved me, and he's picked up the reflex block. So both of them kind of need Crucible. Crucible is pretty much imperative to both of these captains this game.
Exactly that. Gabe Vizzle has been doing a good job, and it's like my lanes when I play Lyra lane, but I just get dunked every single time I face a Churnwalker. Feels bad, man. Old School
so you
now.
play Lyra lane and you face a Churnwalker in lane?
Well, no, when the enemy team are smarter than I am and the supports rotate
that
up.
doesn't take much, does it, Joel?
Funny guy, Scoundrel. Lucky you're good at casting. Now, they're going to be able to back off straight away. In fact, Visual Heim is going to be able to get a nice Ordain. Hunyega's not scheming to care all too much. Sustaining through that Serpent's Mask. Does have to use it into the fray to get out of the fray. Oh! The on point from Joseph. Sends the Batiste packing, and Heim going down. Could lead Cloud9 to take this turret.
Yeah, you saw when the Mortal Wounds actually applied to Hunyegas, his sustain was kind of knocked out the park. He was sustaining a huge amount, then suddenly Old School locked onto him, and he wasn't able to do the same level of impact.
Oh, look at that damage. The red mist just chewing out Gabe Vizzle. Death and Breath comes down, but Hunyegas overextending there in a 1v3 almost. And I saved me. Didn't have the sigil and didn't have the fountain available.
I think they were anticipating no fountain on Cloud9, and I think the only reason that you jump in is that you thought that there was no fountain. No way that you're going to be able to beat an entire team with a fountain still up and available. Hunyegas maybe just incorrectly interpreting the way that the previous team fight went. So have a look towards item spikes now. Official Hein looks like he's going towards what I imagine is going to be a Clockwork. That's the pretty standard 1-2 build on a CP Batiste from the jungle. Hunyega's working towards a breaking point. Again, standard breaking point. Serpent's Mask into breaking point is kind of the go-to for Rona. Looks like Old School will also be going towards a breaking point. I imagine that's going to help him keep his sustained damage up in these fights. Because remember, you have to kind of go blow for blow with Rona in sustained fights. Rona is built as a sustained fighting machine. So you need to use your advantage of your movement speed, but also get something from it. And that's what the breaking point provides this guy.
Well, they are going to be able to shove in. This is the first time we've really seen Hun Jaegers face off against Old School, but it's more of a 3-on-3 than the 1-on-1 we'd normally see. And now Cloud9 taking priority in the jungle as well. Being able to push in first means they're able to rotate down very, very quickly. And in fact, that Crucible's been pinned up by Gabe Vizzle as well. So that Fearsome Shade, if he does manage to block it, and we know Gabe Vizzle can, Heim is going to have one less tool in his arsenal.
Yeah, that's the only thing you need to block for Cloud9. There is literally no other ability that Elite 8 are going to bring to the table that you would need to block other than just the Fearsome Shade. And this is not going to be like Rock's Armada. You're not going to see an Echo on official Heim because you don't have a hyper carry. This is going to be a straight-up CP Batiste. So you're not going to see an Echo come out, therefore you're not going to need fancy extra reflex blocks or crucibles here and left, right, and center.
Cloud9 starting up as gold miner though is fairly low. Elite 8 do need to go for this engagement here. Anime Save Me does have the passageway and the bright bulwark. Could lead Hun Jaeger straight into the middle of Cloud9, but they're playing it fairly safe and Cloud9 doing the same thing. Flaring each other out. Gabe Vizzle tries to fish for a hook, doesn't quite find one, but Hun Jaeger's picking up that infusion. You know they want to fight Scoundrel, it's just when they pull the trigger. There's the Torment in. Death from above does come down to separate them. Trespass comes up, but the block is good. Gabe Vizzle trying to just finish off the gold miner, but it gets taken away by Elite 8. No one falling just yet. Into Frey used to get on top of Ileb. Joseph's going extremely low. Fountain as well is going to keep Elite 8 alive, and now Old School and Joseph are alone. They're going to 1v1 the Batiste, and Heim ends up falling down. Old School moving forward with the help of Gabe Vizzle is going to be able to isolate Hun Jaegers, and that'll be 2 extra kills for Cloud9.
Up to 10 breaking point stacks for both of our breaking point carries in that last fight, but Old School's movement speed made him very difficult to lock down. Once you use those movement and gap closing abilities from Elite 8 and Old School still isn't dead, he is going to dance around you like a monster. Let's take a look at this. That was just after the steal. Look at Old School here. Again, they close in on the gap, he manages to Suri strike away, and then they've got nothing left in the tank to lock him down. The body blocking from the Black Feather meant that Joseph, Old School, could jump in, those breaking point stacks building up, getting a huge amount of damage down. But like I said, into the fray, needs to be on point. You need to either portal on top of Joseph and Old School and take him out straight away. Once you've used those gap closing, and Old School still gets away, that's when you're in a tough position as Elite 8.
Yeah, the portal used more of a defensive manner in that point in time, and Anime Save Me didn't really have much of an impact on the fight. Did use the Crucible, did obviously use the Fountain as well, but realistically, they just split up. Heim was left completely alone, and Anime Save Me was nowhere near him to actually heal him up.
Because we're still seeing a gold advantage over to Elite 8 right now. They still have a minor gold advantage here. They've actually contested Cloud9 in the early game better than they previously had. Now, Cloud9 haven't really got a super early game composition here like they usually tend to run. You do have good scaling on the Weapon Power Sky. But I've got to give credit to Elite 8 where credit is due. They've really turned around their approach to the game. They've definitely taken Cloud9 a little bit closer to the wire. Cloud9 is starting to look like they're regaining control. They still have the turret advantage, for instance. They're going to look to go into this Crystal Sentry again, but this is way closer than the previous game, and that's something that Elite 8 should look to use as motivation to continue to try and push those advantages where they can. You have a Rona now with an Atlas Pauldrons, you've got your double item spike, you've got the double item spike on Batiste. This is the perfect moment to try and jump in, portal onto Old School, bright bulwark so he can't Suri strike and try and lock him down straight away.
Cloud9 have been on a steamroll. They've been on a mission to get their world spot since the start of the season with that small roster change, and now they are proving why they are one of North America's favorite teams. Trespass comes out, does get blocked, and Jaeger's backing off as well. Death from Above did come down, and Hein taking a little bit of damage.
They keep jumping on here.
Oh, Torment. Hang on a second. Hun Jaeger's diving straight on the back line. Finds the damage onto Old School, but that Mortal Wound's cutting his healing in half. There's the Fearsome Shade. It does get blocked. Cloud9 perfectly doing that when they are going to be able to Torment back in as well. And that will be Rona already falling down, leaving out Anime Save Me. Not going to save him this time. Heim is going to have to retreat as well. Blew the Fearsome Shade. They might just go for the turret dive here as well. They've got a lot of damage. In fact, Old School's going to come in. Death from Above does surround him. He's going to have to just hug that turret, but Old School is going to make quick work of him, and that's an ace for Cloud9.
It felt very fragmented from Elite 8 there. One member wanted to jump in, one member wanted to back out, and then the portal came in right at the end. Portal should come in right at the start. That should be the first thing you do to put pressure straight onto Old School. Let's take a look at it once more. Old School again, he's now just essentially kited back from Rona by himself. The block from Gabe was slightly late, but good enough to allow them to reset after the initial hit of the fear. And again, Batiste runs out, Lyra runs in. The communication doesn't feel like it's quite synced up for Elite 8 here. And that's the kind of areas of team fights that a Sky is going to sort of prey on. Sky loves discoordinated team fights. She loves to be able to just focus one target, kite backwards, focus another target. You need to be really, really focused and essentially all on board with taking on the Sky straight away if you want to take out a Weapon Power Sky easily.
Well, they've not managed to take it, but they've only managed to take him out once thus far. Old School as well was always seen ahead in lane, and he's proving that right now. However, Hunyega's only 20 CS behind, but 2 kills behind and 2 extra deaths on his side of the field as well. He is starting to stack up, however. Atlas Pauldrons has been completed. He's got Breaking Point. He had that a few minutes ago. And that will allow him to just stack up in these fights if he can survive long enough. Old School prioritizing that Poison Shiv cuts his healing so much. And in fact, Anime Save Me is being saved by something as we jump into a quick pause.
Yeah, C9 knew. I think there's some sort of problem had occurred on the device there. Going to wait for Anime Save Me to get that sorted. But again, Cloud9 starting slowly finding their way back into this game. They definitely were punished early on, but all the team fights since that point have been a little bit more coordinated. I've got to give credit to Anime Save Me. His crucibles on the trespasses have been ridiculously good. But like I said, it just feels like it's a lack of execution on dealing with the main threat from C9. Yes, Blackfeather with an Aftershock and a Broken Myth is going to hurt, but as the fights go on, the Weapon Power Sky is only going to get more and more powerful. And Elite 8 don't seem to have the idea about how to deal with it just yet. You know, if I were them, I'd be basically running in, like I said, portaling on top of the Sky, trying to blow her up with the Rona, trying to blow her up with the Batiste. You portal in, you ordained, you spin, you hit, and hopefully kill it. And if you don't, then you weren't going to kill her in the first place.
He's just so quick, so mobile. That Suri Strike being used in order to actually get out of the red mist has been such perfection, in all honesty. And one thing we know about Cloud9 is how aggressive their early game is, but yet again we're seeing them just step off the pedal just a little bit in the mid portion of the game. We only saw 1 turret go down in the first 10 minutes, and it was a very slow, methodically played game from Cloud9. Yeah. This game is a lot closer, and we're seeing again Cloud9 taking a step back ever so slightly. They are winning these fights, but maybe they just need to pressure them a little bit more.
Cloud9 going to let Anime walk away. Good sportsmanship from those guys. Obviously, it wasn't his fault that he kind of got caught there, unable to move, and he's able to just reset. Here we go. Let's see Elite 8 trying to defend their Crystal Sentry. A little bit more proactive than they have been in the previous game.
There's the pool, there's the passageway. Hunyega's straight on top of 3 members. That's a 2-man chain coming out from Gabe Fizzle. Torment backwards, they're going to be able to push forwards. Trespass was used and actually blocked by Elite 8. That Fearsome Shade's going to get blocked as well by Cloud9. They're going to drop Heim back in. Look at that damage. Joseph does manage to erase Heim, and that'll be Cloud9 taking the kill.
And the Sorrow Blade completed for Old School. This is the completed Sky build at this point in time. Sorrow Blade, Breaking Point, Poison Shiv, gives you huge amount of sustained damage in fights. You just dance around your opponents, kite them backwards. You get a slow on your forward barrage with Weapon Power as well, meaning that it's even easier if you can't use your basic attacks, you feel threatened using your basic attacks at that kind of range, you can just pop that forward barrage and kite backwards too. Feel like the time has now gone for Elite 8. I feel like that they had an opportunity in the early game where they could have pushed that advantage and tried to punish the Sky. I feel like that's kind of over now. I feel like it would be very difficult to take a team fight away from Cloud9, especially if all the blocks are on point, especially if they're able to kite backwards and obviously use that Torment so effectively that they have been already. And it doesn't really feel like Elite 8 are coordinating their dives easily enough at this point. It's something that we've touched on pretty much the entire game. But that was an attempted dive, but again, uncoordinated, unfocused, didn't really know where to spend their resources, didn't really know where to apply their damage, and that still, again, Old School went kind of unscathed.
Yeah, screams coordination from Cloud9, their ability to select one target, focus them down. More often than not right now, that is Heim. They know that Fearsome Shade is something to block, and as soon as that does come out, they can just jump on him, instantly kill him. He's only got a little bit of shielding on board, so defenses are at a minimum. Cloud9 now moving in. Elite 8 might be a little bit caught out here if Gabe Vigil can land a couple of chains. Torment in onto Anime Save Me, but a Sigil will speed him up to get out of there. And we're seeing Old School yet again being so far ahead of his enemy laner. And one thing you got to say about Hunyega is he's finding these targets, so maybe, like you mentioned, maybe it's just the shot calling aspect. of their team right now that is just lacking ever so slightly. I don't think they even realize that Cloud9 are actually starting this Kraken, because they would be trying to contest it at this point. It's going down so quickly as well.
Yeah, I think they realize now, but it might be at a point at this time where it's just not going to be able to contest. No, they're going to back away. The Lyra Sigil was a last-ditch attempt. Something that I will point out that I think is interesting, given that you're facing a very mobile carry from C9. And we saw previously, when Ronas have been facing up against very mobile carries, a heavy prioritization on something like Journey Boots. Jaegers is still on tier 1 boots, doesn't have the movement speed, so he's kind of going in on his Into the Fray. If he doesn't hit his Into the Fray and doesn't land in the position that he needs to get that damage onto Sky, he's then got a very limited burst of speed to allow him to maneuver across that. Journey Boots would allow him to be a bit more flexible, maybe to look to take more elongated fights and find a better opportunity to land onto Sky. Not going to get that opportunity with just a tier 1 set of boots.
I like this itemization choice here from Anime Save Me. That null wave to actually maybe block out that Crucible. However, they're going to have to use it pretty soon. Bright Bulwark's already been used to stop some of those minions to get a little bit of damage down. That Kraken now down to about 2/3 HP. Cloud9 moving in. There's the Trespass. Nice stun straight on to Jaegers. Can't really find anything more, though. They're just trying to focus this Kraken right now. There's the portal. No passage. Well, there's the passageway, sorry. No Bright Bulwark just yet, but Jaegers just churning them up. There's the fear. Cloud9. 3-man feared. Old school very, very low, but he gets pulled straight back in. Joseph and Gabe Fizzle are going to be able to find it, but they do manage to finally kill off Old School, the main carry of Cloud9 right now. They're going to trade 1-4-0 at the moment, but the Kraken's still marching on the base. They need to be able to deal with it, and Joseph now just prioritizing these turrets. He's going to be able to get the last one. Jaegers has to find that kill. That Crystal's going to go down pretty quickly, especially with Gabe Fizzle and the Kraken going to be there as well. Cloud9, they might just be able to take it just here. Kraken's going to be able to do the last knock and ditch attempt. The Trespass finds the stun, and Cloud9 take the series 2-0.
Oh, what an end from Cloud9. Gabe Fizzle again, just monstrous.